Hello and welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. What a time. Neil Warnock rolling back the years. Ronnie Jepson fist pumping in front of a town end and Neil Warnock's Barmy Army ringing around the stadium. Glorious. And I missed it because I had to go to a little kid's birthday party. But anyway, I'm joined by the best keeper to come out of Kirk Eaton or Kirk Burton, all the Kirks. It's Phil Senior. You all right, Phil?
Evening. How we doing, mate?
Very good. And also a man who's on the verge of billing the club for the use of his imagery in old town videos. It's Pozza. You all right, pal?
Evening, mate.
And a man who may have had hair the last time Neil Warnock was town manager. It's Richard Kosi Kosmala. You okay, Pozzy? How's the Twix? All good? Kozi's just absolutely started nailing a Twix before on our first take, didn't you? And doing the intro with some top class rustling. So, Kosi, I know you love a bit of Kosi Ryoki, but we've had a new entry for Kosi Ryoki this week, and it comes from Dean from Upper Hopton with a song about Neil Warnock.
Oh, that's it wrong.
Me with the points low, players are a no-show, staff getting mad and the fans even more so. Wave your hands to the outgoing man, Fotheringham. What a twat! I got, you got, we got everybody. I've got the players who are scared of the goal. It's time to move your body. Huddersfield Army business. Can I get a witness? Every girl, every man. Cowshed, can you hear me? Riverside, can you feel me? Don't forget Kilnabank. I love Neil Warnock. He's great. And he's making me feel so nice. I love Neil Warnock. He's great. And he's keeping us up all right. Singing in the classes, football for the masses, couple of £100 for some backstage passes. Have a proper giggle, I'll be quite polite, but when Mark's in charge, you know we'll play. Shite! We're bottom of the league and we've got no plan. Time to move your body. If our only fucking hope is Mark Fotheringham, it's time to move your body. Running town isn't easy. People just tease me, said that I'm the wrong man. But Riverside, can you hear me? Cowshed, can you feel me? Don't forget Kilnabank. I love Neil Warnock. He's great. And he's making me feel so nice. I love Neil Warnock. He's great. And he's keeping us up all right. I love Neil Warnock. He's great. And he's making me feel so nice. I love Neil Warnock. He's great. And he's keeping us up all right.
You ask it wrong, man. I were protesting yesterday. I didn't clap him. I didn't sing a song. And I didn't celebrate any goals. That was my protest after Stoke. I wasn't going to go. I didn't even clap him at end. That was my protest, man.
Okay, obviously that's not Dean Hoyle, but the work of voice actor and friend of the pod, Adam Jarrell. Adam, of course, voices several characters on the Offensive podcast. And if you don't listen to that brilliant podcast, then I'm afraid we just can't be friends. So you best crack on with it. Right, guys, this episode is always sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Thanks to Magic Rock for their continued support. And it's AHTTC10 is our code for 10% off if you want to order something online. Right, guys, the return of the grandfather of the championship, Neil Warnock. So many people happy with this. There's an old overused phrase in football, isn't there, about football fans saying a manager of personality gets the club. He gets the club. In this situation, you could probably say it's more true the other way around, that Huddersfield Town fans get Neil Warnock. And they absolutely love what he's about, don't they? They love the aggression, the bravado, the up-and-atom style of play. And you could say Warnock and Huddersfield are very much a hand in glove, for many reasons. The presser, let's talk about the press conference. You know, nice, light-hearted. lots of carefully created language in there in order to take the pressure off the players. Things like free hit. We've only been here for one session. We didn't expect much, etc. He seems to me, and you talk to and you listen to what Andy Booth said and other players, and they say that he's just the absolute master at absorbing the negative and turning it into a positive for the players. And I heard that he had the players in absolute fits of hysterics on Friday, and you can tell already that some of them love working for him. Hungbo afterwards was very sort of effusive in his praise, and I don't think I've seen players for Huddersfield Town say things like that about a manager since probably since Carlos, when Sorba Thomas was quite keen on him, wasn't he? But all that build up, and then Birmingham scoring 5 minutes pause. Troy Deeney blatantly offside, but there's it's almost typical of Town season, isn't it? That you just had to have a quick kick of the knackers first before we get up and running.
100%, mate. Yeah, just going back to your comments on the the press conference. He's clearly and obviously, given his age, old school manager, where they've not probably gone through, or he's not gone through much like media training like they all get these days, where they go out and they say the same old stuff. It's like listening to a tale told by like a wise old man, isn't it? You kind of do hang off every word, and it's not so much an answer to a question, is it? I think you called it right earlier, mate. You said it's a bit like a story. It just kind of goes off on one, and you're thinking, where's this kind of leading to? It's not your standard set answers that managers give these days. And I do think that I can imagine sort of players, certainly young players, 19, 20, 21-year-old, like hanging on every word, because he has been there and done it, hasn't he? And he knows what he's talking about. So I thought that were really good, and it kind of set the tone, for the match, really. Got everybody kind of back on side, really, from where we were. And then, as you say, 5 minutes in, typically every single time we have a big match, we get a decent crowd in, and we generally something goes wrong. And you had that feeling that when it bounced in off Deeney's knee, really, it wasn't even really a great strike or all like that. Here we are again, another false dawn, shall we say? But I think after that, I think the main thing that were evident yesterday after that were the crowd. They just stuck with it immediately. And if that had been Mark Fotheringham in the dugout when that Deeney goal goes in, the atmosphere would have been totally different. So literally just having Neil Warnock at the club, he's only been there one day or whatever, but just having him there kind of brought everybody together, and the rest is history, shall we say.
Phil, have you? I don't think you've ever played for Neil Warnock, have you, Phil? But you must have been in and around players that have, and players at Town will have probably. I imagine Neil Warnock would have been at the club when you joined as a kid, but I'm not sure if you would have had any training sessions. But his legacy and people that played under him must remember what it was like when you were there.
Yeah, I mean, I came in just a little bit after him, I think, to train with the first team squad. I think they were Steve Francis, Eric Steele were the goalie coach at the time, and so we kind of just missed out. But I think the thing that you always get from the players that played for him was the fact, like you said, that his man management was second to none, and he kind of got certain situations, and the players that played for him. I think he's a person, he'll probably admit that he's tactically, he's not the most astute out of the managers. But I think the way that he goes about bringing a team together, which we've mentioned before, is absolutely is key. And I think it's a great move from Town, whether it was a move from Dean or whoever it was. But to bring him in at this time now, he mentioned a free hit for the next game we're playing. I think it's a free hit just having him in general, because going back to what we said about these other coaches following him, it turned toxic, and a lot of people turned right against him, rightly or wrongly. Who cares now, because that's gone. But Neil Warnock's going to get a little bit of grace. He's going to get a lot of grace, because we saw on Saturday it wasn't a perfect performance at all, second half especially. But the fans give him a lot of grace there and got behind the team. And that just kind of shows you what kind of man he is, because everybody buys into what he's about. You see it on the TV. You listen to the players who've played with him. You look at Paddy Kenny. You look at Paddy Kenny on social media and the way he talks about him. Of course, it's quite a powerful thing. That there's not a lot of managers that a lot of players could talk about in those certain ways, and they do about Neil Warnock. And I think that's what's going to be the biggest pull for Huddersfield at the moment, because he can't come in and he's not going to give, he's not going to change the way we play entirely. But with certain tactical things where it's going to be really astute. That's not going to happen. It's going to be all out hard togetherness, graft for somebody who clearly cares about his players, and that's Neil Warnock.
Kosi, tell us about the atmosphere. Beforehand, you were mentioning before we started this that the sort of the feeling, the build-up, and walking down to Leeds Road, things kicking off like it was the 1990s again, weren't they, and what have you? And there was just that energy back, wasn't there, amongst the town fans?
They were amazing, Matt. I think it helped having Birmingham because there's plenty of history between us and them. So, and they sold their end out. I was quite stunned, to be fair, how near they got to our fans. And I suppose for another day, there was some. They were incredible. There were guys. I thought, are they in our end or are we in their end or whatever? It was just mad. But yeah, just going into the town before that, it just felt like a playoff semi-final or something like that. It was such a vibrancy, and I think it's hard to categorise any age groups and stuff. But where I drink, there's a lot of people, kind of 90s kids and stuff, and the people were buzzing. The kind of people our age, late 40s and stuff, and I think a lot of the young ones is kind of like, yeah, Neil Warnock.
Your age, Kosi.
Yeah, it's Neil Warnock. That's yeah. So you're seeing a lot of obviously these videos. I'm bored of seeing these videos at the changing room and stuff because. The one thing I was saying on the radio show I did yesterday was I think he's a lot more. He should get a lot more credit than he does. That QPR team that went up with some of the best football you'll ever see, and the Cardiff team as well. So I think to adapt like he's done over the year, I just want having that kind of dinosaur thing. So when people would say to me, it's kind of going back to prehistoric Stony, I just didn't see it. But yeah, honestly, it was ace, Matt. Just like walking down past the Vulcan and everybody were leaving early, which was quite interesting as well. Normally, you coming out of your pubs at 10 to 3 and people coming in late, people not giving a shit about getting in on time, but people wanted to be there. And obviously, much talked about banner that were criticised the week before from the Cowshed Law, lit the nail on the head, didn't they? And I noticed
good one this week.
I noticed got a lot of national media, headlines. I know Ollie Holt mentioned about it in Daily Mail and a few other journalists as well. So all that stuff were really good. But yeah, just a great atmosphere, great party vibe, and like you just said, Matt, you're just thinking, right, come on, let's take this into the ground, and 5 minutes to go and we're 1 goal behind. But yeah, just fantastic. But I know people who came yesterday that have not been for a long, long time. Not going to mention the names and embarrass them and stuff, but they were buzzing. They can't stand Matt Fotheringham. They can't stand what's happened with the ownership carry on, but they love Neil Warnock, so they were down there yesterday. And I was saying to them last night, these people, I will not name on the air, but can you come back every week, mate? Because we had more chances in one game than we've had in about 500.
No, and I think that's credit as well. Neil Warnock's just had 1 day pretty much with them, hasn't he? And then all of a sudden the team have gone from one that's incredibly passive, dull, and then the first goal typifies really what is instilled in them within a day, hasn't it? The corner comes in, Bilokovic catches it, rolls it out to Jaheim Headley, who we'll talk about shortly. He runs and then feeds Joe Hungbo. Hungbo should really pass to Radoni, but he doesn't.
Oh, mate, I was screaming.
He cuts inside. He cuts inside and releases what we'll probably call a Hungbo bastard, wasn't it? It was an absolute slammer right into that top corner. What a goal. And do you know, he's been a shining light, hasn't he, Joe Hungbo, since he signed. He's direct, he's at it, and he's becoming a little favourite on the sly. I think we all quite like him, don't we, on the pod? But I quite like this guy. There's something definitely about him, and he seems a top guy as well. After when they interview him, I think he's tailor made for Huddersfield.
Man, incredible. I run a bit of I don't know, picked it up earlier on, but after Stoke, I was really pissed off. I got back to the ground about 12:15 to get my car on Wednesday night. A bunch of players that didn't give a shit. I did not want to go on Saturday. And I know they didn't want thing, but I did not want to be there. So I made a point. I thought, I'll go. I ain't clapping, I ain't cheering, and I ain't singing, and I ain't celebrating. You were almost like a bit of a Valencia ultra style.
Didn't last. Come on, it didn't last, did it?
No, it did. I didn't clap, and it's quite interesting when you don't do it because the place went absolutely berserk for the Humbo goal. It's just a shame you didn't see it, Matt. It was madness, mate. It was weird limbs.
They were absolute limbs on it.
It was because as soon as he hit it. We don't see much positive at other end, so we enjoy our goals. At our end, we don't. Again, why we're not playing to our second half? That's an argument for another day. But as soon as you hit it, I knew we're in, and the place went utter carnage. And Humbo's so much to like. His interview, Matt, when he joined, it was just refreshing, wasn't it? He was
Yeah,
kind of
nice
like,
lad. Good lad.
Yeah, some people might interpret it as arrogance, but I didn't see it like that. I thought this is a guy who wants to have a bit of fun. What did he say? What were his exact words, Matt? We're like, I want fun. I want to get people off the seats. I can't remember, but it was stuff like, maybe think, hang on a minute, who are you, mate? You can't even get it Watford team, but yeah. And we saw Wigan last week, Matt, didn't we? In a diabolic. It's only like a week ago, that game. It feels like years, doesn't it? But the guy with the only shining light, but what a goal. And he's obviously watched videos of our other games, because you don't pass to Jack Radone if you want something going on target. So do it yourself. It's it. The place went wild, and the noise, Matt. It was just great. It just, I think fans don't get what it means to have a stadium. Phil's mentioned it a numerous times on the pod. When the stadium is behind the team, it's not been like that all season. 100% from the first game. From the first game, it has not.
It's not been like that since Wagner, really, has it?
No,
not really. Even when
we
we were good, it
wasn't.
wasn't.
We were brilliant, and I was laughing because I think they're giving it to Birmingham. Were kind of pretty, well, not safe yet, but I'm thinking, well, like, who are you and all this stuff? People were just going nuts. It was brilliant, man. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, I'm glad I missed it, obviously. Phil, tell us about Hungbo, because, me and Kosi like this guy, and Pozza as well, joining, because, a direct runner with a bit of pace really like I say, like Kosi said, it gets you off your feet, doesn't it? It may not work every time, but, there's something about him, isn't there? There's a lot to like with Joe Hungbo.
He's an outlet, isn't there? It's, a player that's going to travel up the pitch and relieve a little bit of pressure for us, and you don't know what you're going to get off him at times. It's that kind of player that's, the pace is electric. It scares defenders, and what I like about what Warnock did was, and it was really simple, and there were a few things that you could see had been tweaked. We turned them. We put it. Oggy must have loved it, because sometimes they weren't a pass on, and he just turned it into the corner, and they were willing runners, and Hungbo just put the fear of God into them. Hitting the channels, that pace, like you say, you want centre halves to be turning, facing their own goal. We had midfield runners running past strikers. It makes a huge difference, and I think this Hungbo is going to be absolutely vital to us having any chance of staying up, because he's that kind of player that's going to just pull something out of somewhere, and not only that, but kind of stretch teams. And I think that's what Warnock's going to want to do, and it'll be interesting to see how he utilises him, whether he puts him back wide at any point. But it really seemed to work, didn't it? First half, the aggressive running. And again, he's skillful. He's a neat, tidy player. He's skillful. He's going to draw defenders in, and that's what we need, really.
Phil, doesn't it just sum up the carnage of Huddersfield Town that we've gone from a team who's got 84 points, 90 minutes off the Premier League, and now we're relying on a guy who can't get in a Watford's top 18 players, a young lad.
Well, he can. He's played quite a few times, hasn't he?
But Matt, we're relying on a lad who played on loan for Ross County to have a chance of staying in the division.
Hey, we've all got to get somewhere, aren't we? Got to start somewhere.
It's how's it got to that? It's mad, man.
But you're right,
I'm all for it.
But when you look at football in general, John Russell's got to Barnsley, and apparently he looks really, really, really good. A friend of mine's a big Barnsley fan, and he said he's a player. He says he gets on the ball, forward passing, etc. Some people just need to move on. They need to go and find a different team, and there needs to be something for them there. And Hungbo, this is absolutely made for him, because when you look at our attacking options, we don't really have anyone who plays like him, and we have in the past. So it's going to be, like I say, it's going to be interesting to see what we get out of him. That goal was unbelievable. I was sat
unbelievable
right behind it.
On replay, Phil, how good does it look when he just at replay? It looks even better than it
from behind the goal. Behind the goal, brilliant.
From when I was sat, it was ridiculously good. Like I was celebrating more in terms of shock about how my daughter said to me, she says, he did well with that. He's right footed, isn't he? Says, no, he's not. But I was screaming, square the ball. Actually, when you look back at the highlights, it would have been quite a tight pass to get it across the goal. So I think he probably made a good decision, but I was fuming until he cut inside and rifled in the corner. But two fantastic goals, two really good goals. 9 appearances for Watford this season, Kosi, as Joe Hungbo.
Matt's interview about Warnock was brilliant, wasn't it? We were just, I just thought these are two guys who bought in here, and I don't know. You can look at stuff differently when you've won a game and this, that. But I just thought, wow, these are two guys. It's almost like a cult has come into the club and he's just like, abduct is an honourable word, but like, he just transfixed people. And because let's be honest, Joe Humbo's not going to know Neil Warnock is like 30 years ago. How old's Joe Humbo? 21. He's like
23, isn't he?
I liked what
unbelievable.
Kamara, when he spoke to him after and he had a little bit of blood on him.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, you've never had a bit of blood on your face before, have you? He will have no idea who he is. And he'll have no well, but he's going to find out quickly.
Neil Warnock. It's Neil Warnock, man. It's Neil Warnock, man. He's a legend.
I thought it was quite good what he said to Hungbo before the game where he was last out, wasn't he? He tapped him on the shoulder and just said, "You make me look good today, you." And then he's gone out and he's done that. It's just things like that work for Neil Warnock, don't they? And it's
it's just players just feel comfortable, don't they? Like you say, Wood under Fotheringham, he cut inside and shot because Woody have felt the pressure to pass, to do the right thing, if you know what I mean. I think the great thing about Warnock is that he just takes football, he strips it bare, and he just likes football. He's like a kid, but not playing as a manager. And I think he takes that pressure off. You can, don't get me wrong, you look at like these coaches like Guardiola and stuff like that, and they implement these intricate tactics, and they're working with the best players in the world. And there seems to be this thing now in coaching that everybody has to replicate that no matter what league you're playing. You see teams in League Two and League One and trying to play out from the back and stuff, and players, I mean, even at Town we've tried it, clearly not good enough, and we've got to keep possession for so long, and we've got to work in triangles to create an opening and stuff, and actually you don't really need a lot of that, especially when you're struggling. As you say, Phil, it goes from back to front as quick as we can. If there's no on, turn their defence and play from there. I think Big Sam always used to say, we'll just play in their half, play in their third. How are they going to score if ball's up there? And I think one of the things that we've struggled with at Town, and we've mentioned it numerous times on here, is there's a very big lack of creativity in central midfield. And Warnock's come in and he's basically just said, we'll bypass it then. We'll just go straight over it. Let the midfielders like Og do the job. They can tackle and then just knock it forward. Don't have Og on ball for 5 minutes trying to pick passes because he's not good at that. So I tell you what, just miss him out, go to the next man. And I think it was just quick, like you say, the goal, it was a long ball for the second one and a really good counter attack. And we didn't need to pass it 25 times before we got to halfway line. We didn't need to have a set unit. It was a bit like a free for all, and it was just brilliant to watch. Especially that
Poz, tell us about Kasumu at right wing back as well, because that was a surprise, wasn't it? Before the game, David Kasumu, one of those players who perhaps not the most creative, but he's got absolutely bags of energy. And by the looks of me watching it back on iFollow, he seemed to be up and down all day there from right wing back as well. Yeah,
like you say, Matt, another one that's probably not blessed with footballing ability in regards to picking a pass and doing that sort of stuff. But as you say, he gives fantastic energy. And when you're playing as a wing back, that is probably the first thing that you need because, as you say, you've got to get up and down. And I must admit, I was a little bit surprised that he were there, but, it worked. So why not? Yeah, I thought I played really well.
The key to the game, Matt, I don't know if I'm wrecking your order.
You always wreck my order, Kosi, but go on.
Danny Ward was sensational, mate, and one of the biggest reasons we won the game. He's obviously, him and Warnock have got obviously past and previous, and it felt like time that you were interested. A lot of people, well, how come Ward's fit? He came out of the blue and this, that, and the other. Obviously, it may be an interesting story behind it, maybe not, but the fact that he's an outlet, he worked so hard, he held the ball up, brought people into play. Jesus Christ, we've not had that for a long time. And you can go a bit more direct when Danny Ward's kind of in the team and that as well. I thought he was brilliant, mate.
He runs channels well as well, doesn't he, Ward? He run those channels as well.
Oh, it makes me think if Danny Ward can please stay fit and be leading our line. I know I've talked about so much, but them home games coming up after the 3-8 Coventry and Bristol City.
Mate, don't worry, I've got another kids' party for that Coventry game, so so Town will probably win another kids' bloody party.
He would be lit, mate. Danny Ward, I loved, and obviously it helps when Warnock knows what he can do and that as well. I think that's good. It was quite funny going back to Warnock, Matt. Like I was thinking, he seemed to know about 4 players. They kept mentioning Oggy, didn't he, in his press conference? Oggy this and Oggy that. Warnock. But when he mentioned Will Boyle, everyone's got a good write-up apart from one part, didn't they?
Oh, Will Boyle, yeah. Boyle, but I'm sure Boyle will have a chance with Neil Warnock will definitely set him right. But yeah, let's move on from Will Boyle. So half-time came, Town 1-1, and And thanks to Danny Kiran, he's managed to put something together. So what we'll do is we'll have a break, and we'll go out with a break with Danny Kiran's impression of Neil Warnock.
Any injuries? How can there be any fucking injuries? What a silly question, eh? Look at me while I'm talking. The second goal. The fucking first goal died. You and Chris Billy are soft as shit. You let him fucking back into your fucking day, you? And not happening? You're winning fucking Latvia. You and you come off. It's no good having width. It's a fucking quagmire. What, do you just want me to run over and kick the ball? Yes! We're losing. We're going to get that fucking ball back. They're knocking it around. Don't matter whether your man goes anywhere. You're going to get between them and get the ball back. So we're losing 2-1, second leg, semi-final. We let them because you're tired.
I love that from Danny. Right, we're back. And Kosi's on his side. I think he's been K-lined by that. Right, guys. So second half, Jaheim Headley. Let's talk about Jaheim Headley because, you know, the goal itself is outstanding, isn't it? The confidence for him as well. For this young man. So, you know, he takes a touch, brings it under control, and skidoosh, you know, it makes a wonderful ting off the post and hits the net, and the crowd go absolutely berserk. He's been excellent since he came in. Fotheringham brought him back from Harrogate. I remember Mark Fotheringham saying he really rated him, and, you know, credit for giving him his chance. Came on against Blackpool, and going forward, he looked something else. Defensively,
yeah, they did.
Got bits to
and
learn.
Then why did Chico play him against Wigan? That honestly, I'm sorry to get on my eye horse. That was just garbage that last week. We desperately needed an outlet out wide and someone burst in there to give energy and like to Johnny attack, and he didn't. Chico let him down, mate, I thought, right, as well. And again, Wednesday.
The Kosi rant's coming.
Yeah, no, rubbish though. that was poor management. Blackpool, you're thinking, you're taking a positive out of that.
In a back four, I'm not sure because, you know, defensively in a back four is limited slightly. But if you play in a back three and a wing back, you know, Jaheim Headley or Ben Jackson, you know,
and give other teams something to worry about.
Yeah, the energy that they bring, it's really good. So let's just wrap up on Headley a little bit, and then we'll move on to it, because we're just going to say this is a guy who, you know, let's give him his props, because this is a couple of years ago he was released by Millwall. You know, sort of discarded, one of those discarded young lads, you know, similar to Eberechi Eze, who's gone to Crystal Palace, discarded by Millwall as well. You know, he'd gone out on loan, he'd come into Huddersfield, it hadn't particularly shone, I don't think, in the academy. I think that's maybe fair. He'd gone out on loan to Yeovil, didn't really impress that much. But this season, you know, he's worked incredibly hard to get himself into good shape, and he's gone out to Harrogate and he's done extremely well at Harrogate. Harrogate fans absolutely adored him there. And even Bradford City fans loved him, didn't they? And Bradford City were really hopeful that they bring him in on loan, and, you know, a lot of energy and excitement. And that goal is absolutely superb. You know, he shows great speed, lots
Dominic
of guts.
Whirling, mate.
It's Dominic Whirling on speed. Yeah, that's absolutely flying, wasn't he? But, you know, I think Kosi, he dived back in with Jaheim Headley because, you know, he's come in and what you want from your young players, and Phil, you know, we talk about you as well here from years ago. What you want from your young players is to come in, show some guts and some spirit, and to take their chance. And he's taken his chance, hasn't he, so far? And you're going to have to be some player to dislodge Jaheim Headley.
You could almost name a podcast after him, you know. And he takes his chance.
Yeah, I tell you what, I posted, I went in such high spirits. I posted some stuff like on my social media, but the one that has got, honestly, it's still going like 400 likes. The photo I stole from that press association of Headley's smile when he scored. It is one of the most beautifulest things you'll ever see. That is why we love football, mate. Because there's a guy living the dream. He's scored the winner in a massive game. He's a young lad. He's took a chance. He's bought a ticket. He's won the raffle. His face, how big is he, man? What an absolute man mountain he is. The guy is, I wouldn't want to play against him. He can surely only improve. It was a beautiful thing. That Blackpool, I was down, because it obviously were where we were in the corner, and I was thinking that on that Tuesday night, go for it. Come on, keep going. And it was a brilliant save from the Blackpool keeper. But yesterday, John Ruddy, pick that one out, Baldy. There's the hairy monster here. But yeah, honestly, Matt, it was just a shame. He obviously went off with a bit of cramp, didn't it? But might not have been a bad thing. Maybe, you know, Warnock would have probably put him off anyway, but the decision was kind of made for him. But honestly, mate, give me energy, give me people caring, Give me people with a big smile, and give me people who's like earned their
Infectious,
place.
though,
He's brilliant, mate. And like you said, I know a guy who, from Harrogate, watched him. Mate, they were like in tears when he left. And yeah, I know it's League Two, but it gives us an option, an unlikely option now. And again, I'm sorry, I'm criticising Chicho, but I thought he missed a big trick at Wigan. I was so disappointed after that Blackpool game that he didn't give him his go. And I think he was meant to look folly yesterday, Matt. And but yeah, it's a nice option for Warnock, mate. And it was just one of the great moments. Well, we haven't had many great moments this season, but that picture, it just brings a smile to my face, man, because he's living our dream, mate. Scoring a worldie with his left foot at the John Smith Stadium and keeping us with a chance of staying up.
Delighted for him as well, Phil. It's there's not many better moments in football. As a fan, you want the kids to come through, don't you? And okay, he's not from Huddersfield, he's a Londoner, but he's been at the academy for a few years, and that's what you want really as a fan. You want to see these kids come through and take the chances, don't you? And it's exciting, isn't it, when they do that?
Well, the thing is, he's gone, obviously, like you said, he's gone all over the place to try and get experience and to try and improve his game. And you can see that, it's the improvement from that for him is great. And I think, like you say, you've got to get your chance. You've got to take your chance. My little lad compared him to Trent Alexander-Arnold. He says, "You like Trent, Dad?" He says, because he's not great in defending. And he's probably right. And I wonder. I know you've said what you said about Chico. I just wonder if he wanted to go in and kind of shore up the defence and make sure we in games like that, just wanted to make sure it was tight and ask expectations about in 1v1 situations out wide. And we have struggled as a team with that. We've conceded a lot of goals from wide areas, so maybe that was the reason. But I think as a five across the middle, it's ideal for him. And I mean, we're talking about Headley, but what about the ball from the keeper?
We'll talk about Billow. We'll talk about Billow at the end as well. But yeah, brilliant ball.
His foot. But what I liked was there were two things. I was impressed with the first touch out feet and his directness to go and have a go from that angle, because a lot of people probably wouldn't. They might try and maybe driving a bit closer and maybe square the ball. I love the fact that he's had a shot across goal. Brilliant. But the second, and I don't know how, because everyone were going crazy, but they celebrated right in front of us, the players. And every single player came down there, and it just in that one moment, you could see the togetherness. I don't know whether there was something that's gone on behind the scenes with Headley or what, I don't know, but they were all, you could see how happy everybody was for that individual kid to score that goal. It meant a lot to him, and that was everybody that came running from down the side of the pitch. It was amazing, and that for me was the biggest thing, because you could see, just in that one moment, you could see the togetherness of those players, because they all know they're in it together. And whether that's come from past, whether Follingham's built that a little bit, I don't know. Whether Warnock's come in and, like you say, is inspired within a couple of days, I have no idea. But that togetherness looks fantastic, and it was all for that one lad, and I was really chuffed with him for that goal.
Well, pause, round up Raheem Headley.
Just can't really say any more than what's been said, to be fair, mate. I think, like you say, when you're new, when you're young, and you kind of break into a team, you don't play with much fear, and he takes that ball brilliantly. It's a great long. People just call it a punt, but it's a great ball from Beale.
You love a good hoof, don't you, Poz? You're a big
I'm
fan of the hoof.
Brexit, especially in relegation. Get it forward, Brexit football, playing their half. And to be fair, he takes it beautifully on his left foot. Sorry. And he controls it into his path, whereas a lot of people will maybe control that, dead. But he knows what he wants to do with that. And as Phil says, there's options in box, but no, he's going to shoot. And I think on the video, I can't remember, Town put it out, but the little dink off it, it makes like a right little dinker off
it.
It's brilliant. I love that little noise, and net ripples, and you can see crowd going wild. And because it's bang right, that moment there, he'll never forget that moment. No matter what else he does in football, that moment will live with him forever, and rightly so.
It was suggested as well, Kosi, guys, that this should be renamed as the Headley Horn rather than the Conch. I'm not sure if we're quite there yet, but more performances, Jaheim, and you'll have your horn.
I look at our squad; it's limited to hell, mate. But I just look at now with the last 15 games or whatever, which players can give opposition a headache. Okay, you can say about defensively this and that, but I'm just thinking. I know you can't say bollocks to defence, but you can't. But I'm just thinking. Energy, people to beat a man, people to go forward, people to create something, to score. We're desperate. We've got to go for it. We've got to win matches. And Yeah, he might cock up against Burnley if he gets the start or what have you, but he might be back on it against that. I just don't think we haven't got enough positive players. Maybe that's just because the old mentality we've had this year of, it's kind of safety first and going in for the point and keeping it tight and yet, but it was just refreshing and everything about the day, Warren. It's just a beautiful story, isn't it? And that as well.
It was nice yesterday, because I know you kind of say, bollocks to defence or whatever, but it was interesting when the subs were made. It would have been so easy to put a couple of defensive-minded players on to try and grind out that 2-1 and keep it at 2-1. But he went almost like for like, and he just put on Simpson up front and brought Knockout, who unfortunately decided to play for 10 minutes. But
we were playing against 12 men then when Knockout comes on.
Imagine if you've just been running around after Ungbo for 70 odd minutes, and then like Tyrese Simpson comes on. You're thinking, oh, nice when he's gone off, and you see who's coming on. You're thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm already knackered, and he's coming on. And it was just nice to see that, rather than, oh, come on, we'll take him off and go one up front and put another midfielder in or whatever and try and stifle it. Well, do you know what? This is working. He's knackered. He's done what he's been done. Let's get someone else on there that can do the same thing. And it were good that from Warnock. And I know that kind of brings you on to the point about holding on and stuff like that. But yeah, Birmingham came at us, but I didn't. It weren't massively scrappy. I know in stoppage time when 12 minutes went up, it always gets a bit panicky after 90, doesn't it? It's one of them things in football. You're on 85, and then 5 minutes you're fine. As soon as 90 goes up, for some unknown reason, then 5 minutes turn to chaos. But I thought we dealt with it really well, and
we did.
Part of that, where we had outlet balls, we could play up to somebody.
And threat, isn't it? So, Town, like I say, they maybe clung on a little bit. Bilokovic made a really good save from point blank, didn't he? He came out and spread himself really well. My mate messaged me at the time and said it feels like they've forgotten how to win a little bit, because 15 minutes, wasn't they? I've added on time because Christian Bielik was injured, but 15 minutes must have.
They were incredible. When he put 12,
torture.
You're thinking, I thought about 8, maybe 8 had been unfair, then 12, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
I think the brutal reality for me is our bench. The bench is weaker than the players on the bench are weaker than what we've got, and it made our team weaker with the changes. That's the reality of it, and that's why we're struggling where we are. I don't think we've got a strong bench, and any attacking player we had kind of disappeared once all them subs came on after 65 minutes, and while we want hanging on, we never looked like getting another goal, and. I just think
Phil's
that's the reality where we are.
We need to go to Phil because he's pulling faces here, and
Ooh,
I'm reading his face, and he's got something to say.
We're talking about like all the attacking thing had gone. We put 2 strikers on, so put 2 strikers on. So really, we should be going. It didn't work. I thought it was poor. I thought it were 2 poor changes. Done it that way. Hindsight is great, isn't it? But I just didn't think it worked. Simpson offered absolutely nothing up front. Absolute powerhouse, huge, and that ball bouncing off him. He was getting bullied by centre halves. It didn't work. But the thing, Warnock's going to find him out. It really didn't work. I thought it was poor. But he's going to find these players out, and he's going to find out who's going to be suited to certain situations. For me, Wagon should have gone up top. I'd have brought Diarra on, legs. Chasing people down, energy.
Seeing Diarra come on and take, he loses the ball a lot, Diarra. I don't know if he's the man for those situations for me.
But higher up the pitch when we're trying to press and we're trying to teams and get them back up the pitch, we just seemed happy just to back. Headley got the man of the match. I thought Hillick was absolutely class.
Yeah, he's brilliant, and he was playing injured as well.
He was
looked at the end, mate. Yeah.
He's head and shoulders for me, player of the season, Mikael Helik. I think he's brilliant. A really, really big fan of him.
I thought the lads at the back were brilliant. But I just thought it didn't work, and I hope he don't try and do that again by putting 2 strikers up front.
Listen, so you've heard Neil. Phil Senior says, "Don't you dare do that again." So.
To be fair, Phil is trying to find out about his players, isn't he? And like you say, Tyrese Simpson failed his test, although that sprint that he had where he got ball, that was the only thing that he did, wasn't it? When he other guy that started him.
Over 5 yards, he's frightening because he's going to bully people, but he just could not get hold of the ball. He couldn't win one. And I'm not saying he's an tremendous player because I honestly don't think he is. I think he'll do all right for us. played in the right way, but he offered absolutely nothing.
Pause. What did I call him when he signed?
Just stood behind him.
Maybe Ishmael.
Just looked lost. Like it didn't look like he knew where to go, and that's why I thought you put Diarra in there, who's played in midfield in the hole before, and we can still turn them and get willing runners in behind. And
Where were Rhodes yesterday?
He was. Yeah, he's coming back from an illness, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, I saw him in Dwayne Holmes before. I think.
And that's working so well, and what's he gonna? He's not really going to offer as much in the way that Warnock was playing. And I think, I honestly, I loved it, seeing those balls getting turned into channels. I've been turned into this Wagner, right, let's keep it, let's keep possession, dead cover.
I tell you, long ball, go for it.
Long, dirty balls into the channel. Turning them.
Oof to be a terrier. Oof to be a terrier.
All fans will shout, get rid!
Yeah. They're going to love it now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to love it. They'll love it. What a complaint about that?
Yeah, Matt, another good thing that the club did, obviously you weren't there yesterday, but they made it like...
Rub it in again, because that's like fourth time you've made a reference to that.
They made it a bit of a 90s day, mate. So they like all the music from the 90s.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Which I thought were really clever. So I thought that was a good move. And I don't know where Rambo is at the moment. Is he on extended holiday? Has he been sacked or what? Where is he?
I think he's away, I think he's on holiday.
Been away for months, but yeah, that was good from...
No, it was every 5 minutes.
Should get Rambo on the pod actually one day. I think he'd be quite a good guest, wouldn't he?
Sued, wouldn't he? Yeah, we'll be sued.
Yeah.
You won't be able to tell the difference between him and Pozzy, looks there.
I won't mind Phil's opinion on Nick Belokopich, because this is a goalkeeper I really like. I think for his age, he's quite mature for his age. I quite like how he's not scared to come for the ball. I think cast your mind back to when Alex Smithers was in goal, I think about 10 years ago, when he was sort of a similar age, and Alex was very sort of skitty, wasn't he? Coming for the ball, he'd come for something, wouldn't come. Then he was finding his hands, really, as we'd say. But Belokopich is quite confident, isn't he? He's quite cool and calm. He's quite unflappable. I think he's quite mature beyond his years, and he's a decent shot stopper as well. You can tell there's a lot that's going to come from him, can't you, Phil? There's a lot of growth potential there, isn't there? As his body grows and adapts and he gets sharper and quicker. I think Town have got a good one here. So,
Polly Pegleg wanting goals.
The Tin Man, yeah.
Great, Tin Man. So that was great.
What a signing.
As I mentioned before, Pozzy, he's offered absolutely nothing as well.
What's his best pal?
Did you watch Wednesday night, Phil? We could have been about 8-0 down.
I'm not sure about that.
No, I turned it off pretty early, to be honest, because it was absolutely diabolical.
I couldn't turn it off, sadly.
You've got about like what he's doing at the moment. He's left home. He's from another country, etc. And he's having to prove himself over in a different country. And you wonder whether that's kind of like helps this, confidence levels, etc. And I think he's brilliant. And one thing that I like about him is that he keeps all of the ball. So if his hands are really, really good. So any ball's low, he's not trying to push it away. He's trying to keep hold of it. I feel pretty confident with him in the goal. I always judge goalkeepers on those kind of edge of the box shots where it dips just in front. And for me, the most comfortable I'll feel is when a keeper can take those balls dead comfortable. He comes for crosses. He's taking crosses in tight areas. He's not massive, obviously a lot bigger than me, but he's not massive. But he's taking balls really well. His distribution's good. I know he shanked a couple out of play here and there, but that can happen. And he had a couple of kicks in the second half, but he tries it in good areas. I like him. He's not a Lee Nichols where he's vocal, but you can see the defenders trust him. They hold a good line instead of dropping too deep onto him. So there's a lot of trust there. I like him. I think he's good. And I'm really disappointed that because he'd started well and then he got dropped and the other lads come in. And even though the other lads started pretty poor, they should have put him back in. But obviously, Clem's doing a good job with these young keepers and they're learning good habits. And like I said, I was really pleased with his performance at the weekend. And I mean, I know what it's like to come in and when I first made my debut, it was at the end of the season. We went down and it's pretty difficult. But when you've talked about it, there's no pressure on him. He just needs to go out and just do his job. Don't worry about what's going on the pitch, down the bottom end of the pitch. It's absolutely irrelevant to a goalkeeper. He just needs to make sure that his communication is good, his commanding of his area, and his hands are safe, and that's literally his job. That's it.
He was good, Phil. He was so good. There were a really interesting bit yesterday. There were Australian players as people. They seem to be really relaxed. So there were a funny incident yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, Poz, where again thick Birmingham fans. So the ball went in their end, and I think it was when they injured it. To be fair, so it wouldn't have mattered. They couldn't have got the game going, but Birmingham fans wouldn't give it back. Yeah. So Bilokovic went over and he just kind of laid back and just smiled. And I just looked at that. I thought, this is a guy here who's really relaxed. This is a guy here who's really kind of content with life. And any Australians I've met are always kind of seem to be the same. Obviously, our last Australian, Adam Jason Davidson before, but we've had some interesting ones. But I just thought this is a guy who's taking it all in his stride. And like you said there, Phil, it's a relegation battle. It's not like we're mid-table where you can get away with an error or two. And Vassili's been obviously not fit, not right. But I questioned whether we needed to bring anyone in. I would have stuck with him, Phil, but I can kind of get the craving for experience. We're obsessed, I think, in this country with experience, this and that and the other. But to me, it's about ability, man. And he was doing a decent job before, so I was disappointed he lost his place. But fingers crossed. Again, I'm assuming Vasily wasn't fit, or was it a Warnock choice? Is that because he didn't really give much away, did he? With post-match, everyone would.
He wasn't on the bench, was he? Which I don't know. I don't know what that says really, because Vatslik wasn't on the bench, and it was Jordan Smith, wasn't it? It was on the subs bench.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe he is injured, but
it was nice to see. Nice to see. He looks, really pleased with him, like Phil said.
Yeah, like I say, as a keeper, you don't want to be up here and down there. You need to be, around here and
I like bothering him.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah, it's a credit to his Australian family. Yeah, credit.
Yeah, the manager said that today. I don't know if it was Tenag or someone on another day. I was like, man.
He's just learning.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, the day it might have been different, Matt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the last note I've got on the game is just a big, like Kossi's mentioned Danny Ward already, but just a big credit to likes of Danny Ward, Hellick and Hogg, who've played through injury there to get us through. Yeah. Credits to your family, guys. Credits. So we'll move on from Birmingham. Great win. Desperately needed, and we'll go to as good a win that was, as bad a defeat as maybe you will see for a long time. And one sorry human being got in his car, drove down to the Potteries, parked in that rancid car park, walked to the ground, paid money.
I went on a coach from the club, but
all right, maybe not. I'm building you up here, Kosi. But tell us about your day out to Stoke.
Well, the biggest thing that were noticeable with the away following was appalling. And the town fans has always gone, I don't know what he gave out as numbers, but there can't have been much more than 350 there, which Stoke's only 2 hours down the motorway. And that, I just thought, wow, the team. And after Wigan, I was really surprised because we took a couple of thousand. It was almost like, to me, the fans had said, up yours, town. We're done with you. We've lost our connection with the club. And you've only got to look at yesterday, the fact that Stoke went to Blackpool and lost. And so when I went before the game, I was chatting, and this another good thing they have got supporters back. We're amazing, like bolted into the stand, everything you'd want from what we've got, like old memorabilia, screens all over the place, quite cheap beer. We were just like everyone together. And I got to chat to a few Stoke fans. He says, "Oh, you're going to win today." I was like, "What are you on about?" He says, "Have you seen table?" I says, "We're in a false position." We're in a false position. I said to one of them, "What do you mean?" He says, "We should be bottom. We're second bottom." And says, "There's no way Hull will beat Stoke tonight." And obviously, I don't bet, so I'm going to do it. But says, "Mate, we're garbage, and we want Neil out." And the fact that we lost 3-0 and it was horrendous. They were. I thought Stoke were.
They were crap, weren't they? They were.
Yeah, they lost to Blackpool yesterday, which says a lot. And yeah, it was depressing because we just died. It was almost like we mentally just shot to pieces. So the fact that Warnock were going to be coming as well, that's what made it more disappointing for me. That obviously had been announced.
It was just one final day off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Almost.
Part of me wants to be mad with Chico, but then where do you draw the line? Everyone's got to go at these players, and we've tried different things, but it was just the fact that we had nothing to offer going forward. And yeah, there's not much we want to go on about the game, but it was just it was just a dismal night. But just something going that supports. But I really hope it's something that the club consider if we ever get the chairs back and the new ownership.
For those that aren't sure, so you went down to Stoke and there's like a supporters bar there. Just explain it, so for people that are listening who didn't go, what it was like.
Yeah, what it was, because like anyone's beaten Stoke before, and it was a bit of a trek to get anywhere to a booze and its home and stuff. So I had to walk around the stadium because we got there nice early, and there was this bar called Delilah's Bar. Would you believe? And So I thought I didn't want any colour, so I thought I'll try and get in here and that as well. And they were like, you have to pay £3 to go in, but I was chatting to a guy and said, if you're a member at Stoke or what have you, or you can pay, I think, a little bit extra season card, you can get into this bar. But it was incredible, Mike. It was just like somewhere where you'd go when they want a match. So a massive supporters bar. You had like BT Sport, Sky, and another channel, so you could watch 3 different games. They were serving beer in a glass, which I know a lot of people got issues with when it's plastic and stuff. So I was quite surprised at that. But that's a big thing in Yorkshire. I know that. No, we're not drinking out of plastic, so you've got all that. But basically, there were supporters like just meeting up and talking and stuff. And there were quite a few Stoke fans I was chatting to, like they've come from all over. So a real meeting place. But again, it was somewhere you could go after, and the income goes to the club. They were serving food, and it was quite cheap, and it was just everything. It was really, really good. It reminded me sorry, you'll get me mad. What you're
also
like Leeds Rhinos have got a similar thing in their stand. It's kind of
good.
a place.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's good.
It's somewhere you can have like a band on before, or I know at the Rhinos like they have like ex-players kind of commenting and stuff. And I know that they have that, but at town it always seems to be the corporate end, doesn't it? Phil, you're always in there, but they get an ex-player in there. But why not send why not
schmoozing is Phil?
A story about.
Wouldn't it be good though if you had an ex-player kind of down there 1:30 on a Saturday in this supporters bar, and they're going to kind of give top 10 minutes, chat a bit of shit, I don't know, with Rambo, just the stuff they get copied.
We had that a little bit, didn't we, with Canalside when you could go in there? That was it was small. Yeah. It was small, wasn't it? And it was difficult to get to the bar, and there was a lot of complaints about getting served and stuff. But you would like to think there's potential around the ground to do something like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, there's no road walk now, Matt, because that was another thing. I went because I got a bus, I kind of got there early. So obviously you've got the Costa, but you've got nothing at the cinema end. So to me, it makes so much sense. But maybe it's a pipe dream, a bit like HD1. But I just came out of there thinking that it's good. And obviously I did a bit of German football the other week, and it's similar to there where people get to their grounds, 2 hours before the match. You'd never do that at Towns, would you? And I mean, I know it was kind of a botched effort because obviously we got booted out of Canalside as a fan group, but the thing they had behind the south stand at the old golf range, did you call it Chernobyl or something? But like,
no, I won't say. No, that was Leeds fans who said it was like
Leeds fans. But yeah, that it was
they weren't wrong though.
Cold and pretty grim place really. But I just it'd be lovely to have something like that. But that stadium, when it's another argument for another day, in it, but it's kind of needs so much doing on it. And
it's a good blueprint, isn't it, for clubs, for similar clubs to follow, isn't it? But Phil, you got being a bit of a high roller at Huddersfield Town. You were invited into the White Rose, or you were in the White Rose Club, and you got invited to speak, didn't you? How did that go?
Oh, it was brilliant! It was class. I went in. Boo, they were boovy as usual. I took 3 kids in with me because I'd taken them to the game. So put a couple of cokes on Boovy's tab, as you do.
He'll be after that.
Hopefully it comes out of his pocket. So can you come in and do like after game? Speak, say, yeah, no problem. I'm down at game anyway. So I went in. Dale Tempest was covering Rambo. And I sat down with Dale and I had a good chat with him. Call with him, and I says, how long are you going to be, Dale? He says, about 5 minutes, we'll get you on. Yeah, no problem. So Turton came in and did his man of the match speech, etc. And then Dale turned around and said, right, so hopefully we'll see you all at the next home game at Birmingham. And then just walks off, and I'm just sat there. You don't want to speak to him then.
I love that. It's like
totally pointless, and I was fuming because rugby union were on, England were playing, and I wanted to get home, get to the pub so I could watch a game, and then I missed it all. I think I got about 15 minutes at the game. I got in the stand at car park because Booby got me a pass, and there were massive queues to get out. Oh, it was horrendous. What a day.
Great Northern Street, Phil. That's where you want to park, mate.
Yeah,
Get away quick from there every week, mate.
That's where Pozza spends way too much time on Great Northern Street.
You've got to be careful on a night match, that's all I'll say. Especially if kids are around.
Matt, I should have looked at your agenda before, but we've got a little section to talk about this relegation battle and everything, haven't we?
Yeah, get onto it if you want. Let's get going.
Yeah, so you know what? God, this is going to bring it down to earth, isn't it? But I don't know if anyone else watched yesterday, Millwall vs Sheffield United, but the quality of the football was sensational, and we've got to play them too. We've got Burnley to come, who had, and I know 3-8 and blah, 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 but I just think, Phil, you posed a question last night on the Twitter, and is it too late, the Warnock? I don't want to burst his bubble, because I put a tweet out Saturday, I thought we were finished. After Stoke, I thought we were done. And I'm grateful for the win yesterday, but I just feel we've got to take 6 points of them Bristol Coventry games. I don't think even 4's enough. Surely we ain't going to get anything on Saturday, but it just worries me that I'm running. Again, you get drawn into stuff. I was looking at, you don't go to plan, does it? But I'm looking at Rotherham's running and Blackpool's and Wigan's. The biggest problem, everyone's on 30 feet. It's incredible, isn't it? The table, but the biggest difference is our running's absolutely stinking. But and as much as it was great yesterday, we had a bit of fortune, and I think what I'm trying to say, I want to say we're going to stay up, but I think
tough, innit?
You know what? As a player in these situations, and you can flip it, and you can talk about like going for promotion as well, and having all the best teams to play. Sometimes that's the best thing. Sometimes because it focuses you a little bit more. You're taking it serious anyway because relegations, but sometimes you focus that a little bit more, and we might find it's a game like Saturday where we're hanging on and hanging on and hanging on. We might nick a goal. The only positive is that we've got Warnock, and with his experience and his know-how, that's the biggest positive. But I wouldn't want to look into too much in terms of who we've got to play. We played Wigan the other day, we were crap. We played Stoke, they're crap. We still lost. So all these teams in and around us that we get to play, Rotherham's, etc., we might not even beat those. It might be the other way around. We might start picking up these wins. We might start with Burnley next. We might get a freak win where we just pull it out of the bag and then.
The one thing I was thinking, Phil, and again, I don't know if it was just a dream that I had, and by the way, it wasn't one of those kind of dreams, but can you imagine Sheffield United at home, Phil? It'll be on Sky because of the Warnock connection. It'll be full house. It'll probably be a inside kick or whatever, but there'll be no one giving us a prayer. Can you imagine if we went 1 up and that's what excites you as a fan. Something incredible could happen. That the reality is looking at Njai and Sharp and McBurney and that, but you never know, do you? Can you imagine just winning one of those? The place would be, the atmosphere, it excites me. I just hope, can we just stick in there? I just see them 2 games though coming up, Matt. I don't know if you agree, but I just feel we've got to beat Coventry and we've got to beat.
I think so.
And I think
Coventry are decent as well. Coventry are very good.
Yeah.
And there's Wagner's Norwich coming. Wagner's Norwich is starting to falter. So even though they're up there, they're potentially beatable. Carlos is West Brom, but I agree with what Phil says. What Phil says, there's a lot of teams up there. The pressure starts ramping up at the top now, and they make mistakes, don't they? And the teams go there and put men behind the ball, and they start getting desperate. And all of a sudden, one long ball and Joe Hungbo's in, and 1-0, and they panic. It's a cat amongst the pigeons. But I've been saying for months now that I still think someone is going to drop from the middle right in. I've been saying this for ages, haven't I? And I was looking at QPR for a while because they've won once in 18 and they are dropping slowly. But it seems that they've kind of woken up and realized that they're sleepwalking to relegation. Where have we heard that before? And they've sacked Neil Critchley, but I'm still looking at like Rotherham, or the Rotherham set there. So I'm looking at Reading, looking at Birmingham and these teams and thinking, do you know what? It's just an injury. Like we've had terrible luck with injuries, and it just needs to hit you at the wrong time, doesn't it? And all of a sudden you drop right in and then you panic and you don't have much time to sort of fix things. So I still think someone's going to drop right in late on. I've just got that feeling, I'll be honest. And I don't know who it's going to be, but it's all to fight for. I mean, I don't think we had much of a chance until Neil Warnock came in, but now Neil Warnock's here and he's so good at taking the pressure off, isn't he? I did an article, didn't I, last week, and I still think it's a little bit too late that we've made the change. I think it's 6 weeks too late. I think if it had come in 6 weeks ago, Neil Warnock, we'd be heading off to mid-table by now. But it gives us a chance, and it's a fighting chance, and there's so much riding on it as well. We hear rumours of these takeovers and how important it is to be in the Championship, etc., for them, and all this. And there's a lot. It's not too over the top to say that our entire future rests on trying to stay up this season. It's so important.
I love that interview.
That's clippable, is it, Phil? Is that clippable, Phil?
That's over the top, surely.
I love that. I love that bit though. That one. It got me juices for last night when he said, "I said to the lads, I looked in there, says they believe." And then he were like, you've got to die for 3, all that kind of stuff. I know you probably play it at the gallery a little bit, but I just kind of thought, in the back of my mind, I've been kind of written it all off and still thinking we're up against it, and could we? You know, it's just exciting, isn't it, now again?
And do you know what?
We're dying of death, mate.
Do you know what, Cosy? I love Ronnie Jepson as well. I've forgotten how much I loved Ronnie Jepson as a player. And he comes back and he's the video at the end, and you can see Neil Warnock celebrating, but all you can hear in the background is Ronnie Jepson going, "Fucking get it, effing get in for effing."
Yeah. Rocket Ronnie Jepson, Matty.
Love him.
Love him. Pods that he was going, wasn't it? That banner with Ace Pods, I thought that was a good idea, whoever did that, because it just set the tone, didn't it? And that as well. And because a lot of them young lads won't realise what Neil Warnock were about, but obviously we were, as we did.
Do now. But that's it really for the for those dropping in. Any other business, guys, before we set the world to rights?
No, it's just there's games this Tuesday, isn't there? I noticed for the teams around us. So it's I'm afraid it's that time of the season. We had it last year when we were going for the other end of the table, where your Tuesdays are going to be spent on sofa score or whatever that you get your flash score or whatever you do. And yeah, it's. But I know, Brian, and I'll quote the great man Phil, but it's what we do that counts, mate. And yesterday it counted a lot. But you know what, Burnley, I'm aware, but like that won't be a bad one to go to, because they should be. It's easy, but can you imagine? You know what? Can you imagine if we could do that away end? If we got a late equaliser, it'd be absolute amazing, wouldn't it? But that's why you go, innit? Really.
The hope. See that I think that typifies it, because last week, Cozy, you'd be saying we're going to get arseholed here 6-7-8-0, and now we're talking about potentially going to one of the best teams the Championship seen in the last 15 years. And nicking things. Yeah. So it just shows that the hope's back, isn't it? With Huddersfield.
Still, the training ground tomorrow will be like a party zone, won't it? Cars coming down there, guys will be buzzing, won't they?
100%. Like, I just, like you've mentioned Ronnie Jepson there, like you've got 2 people right behind you there who are going to give you everything. Both those, the coach, the manager, and those players they'll be full of confidence, they'll be full of beans. Neil Warnock will have his arm around loads of people. He'll be having a laugh with everybody. It'll be a much different place, but it's bloody hell, it's a long way to go. Let's not, it's one good result, but it's going to help massively. It really is going to help massively. I love the fact when he turned up and he mentioned about Hoggy. He says we don't have many leaders. I love that. Like a bit of reverse psychology. We don't have many leaders in the club, and Hoggy's going to have to help, mate. And he put it out there straight away, didn't he? In terms of like he's going to be one of his key players, because Hoggy's coming for loads of stick this season, and sometimes rightly so. I mean, he made an error at weekend, didn't he? But it's time for these leaders, isn't it? And Warnock's definitely one.
I was watching a lot of him yesterday, but Phil, you'll have been in that stand, but the 4th official were getting it. Everyone were getting it. Anytime they were breaking play, we're getting people over like Marty Lowe and Knockout. Everyone were having a little word in people's ears. It was brilliant, mate. One of Humbo, he was encouraging people, getting the crowd going. He was doing about 84 different jobs at once. It was brilliant. He's such a showman, isn't he? But it's infectious, isn't it? Because it just like people that give a shit, and
those players. It just reminds me. I was sat there watching it, and it just reminds me of Jacko. Those players are going to want to play for him. They'll run through a brick wall for him because of the way he is, because of the way that he'll treat them. He'll be asking them about the personal lives. He'll be talking to them about day-to-day stuff, telling them how good they are, how much he needs them, all that kind of. And it's right because he does. But those players, they'll absolutely buzz off it. I'd love to see Matty Pearson's face being coached by him.
Matty Pearson, I love him. It's him sort of manager in there.
Roughing at Mouse, growling all over. Get me in that team. Fight for him. I want to.
That what I said about Will Bourne made me laugh, because I was raging with it, and at the time, some of the fans were clapping him, and I could not believe it when they were clapping him down tunnel. And to be fair, there were a lot not, but he was brilliant when he said that. When he said, "I couldn't get it," it's like William Boy's like, "Lad, you've let us down. And you're clapping the fans," and then he just carried on back to his normal mode about talking about back in the day. He's just clever, isn't he? And for 74 years old, man, if I'm still around at that point, it just, honestly, you're thinking, should be in an house in Cornwall or on the beach or whatever. And he's in the battle, and he's absolutely loving it yesterday. We're loving it, mate.
You were saying about like him getting into like 4th officials and stuff. Do you think, like, while I was watching the game, I was just thinking about this, but do you think that could hinder us at some point as well? Because he's got that reputation, hasn't he, with some of the officials?
I don't think it will, Phil. I did a show yesterday with Keith Hackett, who he's a big friend of Neil Warnock, and he were mentioning about when Warnock were in the Premier League and stuff, when Keith Hackett were kind of in the referee association, or I can't remember what it, PGMO or whatever it was, and Keith Hackett used to have a meeting with Neil Warnock every Monday, and and he were ready for him, and Warnock were like getting his video and like, this is what's happening. But Keith Hackett were like and they got on really well. So because I would expected, because I was saying, is it all a bit of show and stuff like that? But he was saying the officials kind of knew what they like him, and I thought that was quite surprising, really, because I thought, God, they'd hate him and stuff. But it's got to be psychological, Phil. There's no doubt that when people are going to referee games and no Neil Warnock's there, it's going to be back. It's not going to harm us, is it? It's not going to harm us, I don't think. I think it'll be more of an opportunity for us. But it's, he's. And I always think fourth officials, why are they getting it? They've not made these decisions. But he was doing it yesterday because he thought we should have had a penalty. And he mentioned it in his presser, didn't he? But I thought there were no way that was a penalty. But it's just little things he drops, doesn't it? Because if we don't get something at Burnley, be like, well, that's 2 penalties we haven't got. And he's just smart, isn't it? Smart thinking.
Yeah.
Right, guys, I think that's it for this week. And this week, Huddersfield Town have gone back to the future. And Rhodes, where we're going, we'll definitely need Rhodes, and we'll need everyone else behind us to stay in this division this season. But most of all, the hope is back, and that's more than we had last week. Thanks, everyone, and we'll catch you again soon.
Me with the points low, players are a no-show, staff getting mad and the fans even more so. Wave your hands to the outgoing man, Fotheringham. What a twat! I got, you got, we got everybody. I've got the players who are scared of the goal. It's time to move your body. Huddersfield Army business, can I get a witness? Every girl, every man. Cowshed, can you hear me? Riverside, can you feel me? Don't forget Kilnabank. I love Neil Warnock, he's great, and he's making me feel so nice. I love Neil Warnock, he's great, and he's keeping us up all right. Singing in the classes, football for the masses, couple of £100 for some backstage passes. Have a proper giggle, I'll be quite polite, but when Mark's in charge, you know we'll play shite. We're bottom of the league and we've got no plan. Time to move your body. If our only fucking hope is Mark Fotheringham, it's time to move your body. Running town isn't easy. People just tease me, said that I'm the wrong man. But Riverside, can you hear me? Cowshed, can you feel me? Don't forget Kilnabank. I love Neil Warnock, he's great, and he's making me feel so nice. I love Neil Warnock, he's great, and he's keeping us up all